there you go. Your mic's back on.
That's right. It is finally. That's what happens. Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Rev, the day of what should be a very interesting city council meeting. But I want to apologize for the technical difficulty again on Monday. My laptop was messed up, and I was in a place where I had no access to this computer, but it will be fixed. We were online, ready to go, but the microphone was disappeared. So, but yeah, tonight's meeting should be good. But before we do, I think we really have to talk about some of the things that are happening on a national stage. This incident I wanted to talk about it Monday, but about this individual attempting to burn Jewish people who were basically demonstrating for the release of hostages alive, and then saying he wanted to kill them all, highlights again how this party has radicalized crazy people to do crazy things. This is not politics. This is terrorism. And then the Democrats did what they always do. They blamed Trump. I saw some imbecilic congressman on there saying it's Trump. And then some news, one of the mainstream media saying, oh, Trump's inflammatory rhetoric. No. What happens is the thousands of children of privilege at Columbia University running around yelling, intifada, intifada. And none of them actually know what the word means, but they're chanting it and talking about killing Jews and killing non-Muslims. And the irony is that they're so freaking stupid that they would be the first people killed if they ever went over there, because they are non-Muslims, and some of them it's Pride Month, and some of them, would be thrown off a roof because being gay, or any of the long acronym LGBT plus zip, I can't keep up with the letters in that acronym, but they all have a right to be whatever letter in that acronym they want in the United States of America. But they would not have that right over there, because they execute them. So, yeah, go to Afghanistan and chant intifada and tell them how much you care about them. They don't care about you. They care exactly what this Egyptian terrorist said. He's been planning this thing for a year. He wanted to incinerate Jews, and if there were no Jews around, he would have started on the Christians, because he's a maniac. And these Democrats, they're the problem. They didn't even mention, I've never heard one of them say this was a outrage to humanity, what happened here. An absolute outrage that someone would do that to other human beings for no other reason than the fact that they had a religion different than theirs. It just pisses me off when I see Ilhan Omar and not even comment. I'm going somewhere. You don't stop to say this is an outrage, but you're a radical Muslim too. You're not a moderate. So they condone this thing, and then you got congressmen who are so dumb. They started talking about his visa status had nothing to do with the border. Yes, it does. If someone came through the border legally and now is an illegal, he's violating the law. Therefore, it has to do with borders and border security, because all those safeguards are part of border security. So I had to get that out. I'm sorry if some people are disinterested, especially Democrats, because they deserve Hammurabi's code, and it's not restricted just to them. These people are nuts. They burnt down Governor Josh Shapiro's house while he and his wife and his family were in it. in Pennsylvania. And he's a Democrat. They're them allowing this kind of hatred to be spewed and covering it as quote unquote First Amendment. This literally was something that's prohibited in the Constitution, because there is case law saying that yelling fire in a crowded room is not covered by the First Amendment. Well, burning people because you don't is a violation. So I had to get that out. So this irritates me.
No, that's not for the show. That's an advertisement.
I'm saying, what is that thing? We're getting ads now. Oh yeah,
no, I generated that ad.
Marketing. And while we're on a national scene, let me quickly touch about something because it finally hit the news. Remember, to show you Spindle City's always way ahead of the curve with our news. We talked about the boondoggle in the California, the bullet train. Remember?
Yep.
We went over all the numbers. Well, the new headline is that they're cutting funding. Now, the new Secretary of Transportation, unlike Pete Do Nothing, the highways are racist, Buttigieg, is saying, released a scathing report that he said the California's long troubled high-speed rail, which is, it's not in this article, but it's called the bullet train, is threatening to pull the plug. The government is on the hook for $6.9 billion, while Californians provided another $9 billion. So do the math. That's 15.9. Let's say $16 billion they've spent already. And guess what? Ground was broken 10 years ago, and not 1 mile of high-speed rail has been completed. So when we look at the budget tonight, remember that we have a Democrat putting in his budget. So that was my segue, CJ.
Yeah, well, you ready for this one? Guess who the Democrats are choosing as their presidential contender right now?
Jasmine Crockett.
Nope, Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, that's their choice. I'm talking about the radicals. The radicals is either AOC or Jasmine Crockett. No, Buttigieg is growing a beard and trying to pretend that everything that happened while he was Secretary of Transportation and part of that administration. Well, we kind of got it wrong, so elect me president. This time I'll get it right. It's like, okay, you just burnt your face on the stove. Elect another stove and burn it and burn your face on it.
That's it. So, well, let's get back to the local politics.
Local.
Yep. Oh, Sunday, gunshots at Travassos Park. Don't worry, it's not important. It's only a park. And your kid doesn't have any bullets in him. But wait, last night, 200 block of Sunset Hill. 3 gunshots to the chest. I don't know if the person's alive or dead, but I'll tell you now, don't worry about it. It's not, no bullets are in your chest. Not your neighborhood. Isn't that the mentality of the current administration, of the dictator? If you don't have a bullet in your house, you don't got to worry about it.
We don't talk about it, and if anybody dares mention it, you make fun of them.
That's right.
It's like, oh, stop it. It's like when they talk about anything, and the Republicans saving money, like they wanted to keep money. Newsom wants to get more money for a bullet train that in 10 years hasn't laid a mile of track yet, and they've spent $16 billion on it. So this is what they do. It's like they don't talk about the fact that they haven't done anything with all that money. And there was a couple of unbelievable pictures. And but this is what they do. It's don't talk about it, cover everything up, pretend everything's fine, and say, let us take more of your tax money while we just piss it in the wind.
Of course. Why should that matter?
Well, Well, it doesn't to them. That's the problem. They live in their world. It doesn't to them. Let's look at what's going to go on tonight. There could be a couple of very, very, adversarial kind of moments here. I think the budget, they're going to try to pretend that everybody's paying attention to the numbers, but these numbers don't fit. But then the police chief is supposed to be there. That should be interesting. I know that there's been a litany of, even on We Suck at Radio on the Saturday afternoon propaganda. Propaganda.
Now I know there was a meeting of the city council last night.
Yeah.
Or is that tonight? No, that's tonight. It is tonight.
Yeah. She's supposed to be on the agenda, and of course there'll be a bunch of
discussion of the proposed fiscal year 2028 municipal budget. Departments carried over from May 29th. Committee on Finance agenda if needed. Public safety, police, and harbor master. 6:05 p.m. special meeting of the city council immediately following the Committee on Finance meeting, if the meeting runs past 6:05, which it will, because the finance committee starts at 6. And then what's on the agenda? To approve the proposed fiscal year 2026 municipal budget. If they approve that budget tonight, none of them should get reelected.
Well, anybody who votes yes, obviously.
I'm getting sick and tired of blindly approving budgets. Linda, I'm getting sick and tired of blindly approving budgets. Brad, I'm sick and tired of blindly approving budgets. Paul, this is what happens when you don't do your job. And you don't.
Yeah, or you're paid not to do the job. You're bribed, whatever. No, you're right. I mean, obviously, this budget should not be approved in the form it's in. We have $600,000 in pay raises, and we're supposed to be broke. They're complaining about the health care. And again, I'm going to get back to, I had this conversation with a counselor. This highlights what's wrong with the city of Fall River. I told Paul 6 years ago when I was appointed to the financial transition team why the healthcare is a mess. It's because the city misspends its money. They do not keep healthcare money and access it. They don't access it. They spend it on other things other than healthcare and didn't save it. So now they're complaining about this shortfall, i.e. shortfall. It's not a shortfall. Healthcare went up, but let's look at the reality of that increase. It went up 8.5%, and the state average is 15 to 50. Diamond is paying $910 for a plan we're paying $700 for, but the people who work on the committee to keep healthcare costs down have done an excellent job, and so, but they're going to go there, complain about a situation they created. Their misspending, their lack of fiduciary oversight with healthcare money for decades. I can provide, and I told that counselor, I can provide you hard numbers, not my numbers from the healthcare system to show you that we were paying more for healthcare 10 years ago than we are in this budget. So is healthcare really the problem, CJ? If for the average person looking at something, if you look in your budget and you're paying less money for something than you did 10 years ago, and you can't make your payments when you were making less money and your budget was a lot less, isn't it probably the way you handle your money? I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me crazy.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, we got so many things to talk about, Andrew. We got so many things to talk about misspending money. It's just like, ironically, you're just segueing right into what we talked about. Newsom spending $16 billion on the bullet train, and they haven't laid a mile of track, and they broke ground 10 years ago. This is what these politicians do. They spend our money, don't do anything with it constructively. They never get anything done. And their answer is always the same. Give us more money.
$88 million. And the fire stations still look like a shithole. Yeah. Rats, mice, vermin, lead paint. And it's been that way for years, for decades. For decades.
Well.
And Al Oliver saying, no, it looks good. No, it looks good. And accordingly, the fire chief turned around and said, the fire department's fine. Fire department's good. We're all set. We're good. Are you living in that situation, Chief Bacon? Are you falling asleep on a rack and getting lead paint chips in your mouth? Are you living with the vermin? Oh.
Well, you know that he's going home every night because he works days.
Exactly.
And
no kidding. The city makes everyone else.
Yeah, well, healthcare is actually the least problem the city has. The two biggest problems they claim they were self-inflicted wounds. They talk about the retirement system being a major problem. They underfunded the retirement system. I have the numbers from 02 to 12 by the tune of $89 million. We were the second worst in the state. We're beginning to claw our way back. But they wrecked the system. They're paying what they have to pay now because they didn't pay on time and they didn't pay enough for a decade. The same thing with the healthcare. I can show numbers where we were paying more money for healthcare a decade ago. So what is it? It is fiduciary irresponsibility. The mayor doesn't give a damn how much money he spends. And if the council approves this budget, shame on them. I sent them all these numbers. They all know about these numbers, and they're going to ignore them. They're going to say, I want to hear one of them. Call them out. Linda Pereira once called my name, remember, when they were talking about numbers? Did you look, did you call Chip about these numbers? Well, I know the numbers. I've been doing this consistently without break since we had a PEC. I know all the numbers. I have all the numbers. And they're not my numbers. They're hard numbers. And, they've already changed it, Andrew. The State House changed the law. So people like our state representative, Alan Sylvia, who's been paying, who retired many years ago on a disability retirement and gets a small pension, not a small, but a smaller pension because he's been retired for a very long time. Now that he's able to get rid of his disability retirement, switch over to a superannuation, and get a pension based on his state rep salary. So he's going to get a massive jump. But you know who they made that?
Here's where I think the problem with the system, though, is. He's going to get his pension based upon the state rep salary. Guess what? You get it from the state then. You don't get it from Fall River. There it is.
But it doesn't matter where he gets it from. Yeah, he will get it from. But the fact is this is money that we're paying for politicians. Now, the average person is not going to do that. Yeah.
I agree with you. There should be term limits.
Well, the problem is they'll never pass it. We tried it in Massachusetts to pass term limits. Of course, the politicians are not going to vote to end their careers. So they shot it down. And, the Supreme Court, who they appoint, basically said we needed a constitutional convention. So, I mean,
and how tonight is going to
what I always used to refer to as the dance of the chickens. This is bullshit. This budget is a disaster. She's going to go on now, and we've been told by very reliable sources that she's recomputed how they're going to fund the health care. Well, the reason you can't fund the health care is you never kept any of the money that we ran under budget for the last zillion years. I can't remember a year that we ever ran over budget when we funded the correct amount, which was always. Now that amount that they're saying we'll fund it, but they don't have the money to pay it because they can't absorb that 8.5% increase because their trust fund has always been broke. Kathy Ann Viveris once testified there. They said, how much do the employees have in their trust fund? And I believe that it was either 7 or 9 million. It was a while back. And they said, how much do you have in the city? And she said, 500,000. Well, when you have to pay 3 times the amount because the healthcare is paid 75-25, they should have 3 times as much. So at that time, if it was 7 million, they should have had 21 million if they handled their money correctly. But they don't. They spend it on other things. They say, okay, like they do with salaries at the end of the year. They don't put people on a job. And they even said it at that last meeting.
Yes, they have.
We're planning on people retiring, and we're not going to fill positions for a while, and then we'll be able to get money. That is not a responsible funding source. You're not going to put police officers on the street or firefighters on a job. When we get back to firefighters, Bacon can say anything he wants, but we know what his history contains. We know what he did, as in that he was disciplined, passed over for a promotion because he falsified a report. So he is a convicted liar. And people say, well, they passed him over for district chief the first time. Yeah, that was just a move to make it look good because he was politically connected. And he ultimately gets the job because Paul Coogan likes people that are like him. Liars.
That's right.
And
fraud.
And the reality is, I was involved in a union for a very, very long time. I saw this happen in other communities. You know what happened to people who falsified records and did things like that? He wanted somebody fired, not just disciplined. He wanted them fired. So I saw them. Some of them got terminated. Most of them didn't. What they did was they were told they could never, ever take another promotional exam. They were going to be frozen at the rank they were at. So for the rest of their career, if they were a lieutenant or a captain, they were going to stay a lieutenant or a captain. At the time, I think he was an acting chief. He was a captain. His rank would have been frozen at captain. He wouldn't be chief today if the discipline fit the crime. When you falsify a report, that is criminal. If he would have ever got to the court and had to testify as a chief officer and they knew about that, any good defense lawyer would bring that up and say, how can we believe your fire report, chief? You were convicted of lying before on a report. This is the problem we have in this city. You don't get a job at the top unless you will do exactly what you told and lie your ass off. And that's what most of them do. Oh, the fire stations are fine. Oh, the tea is doing really well. What other bullshit can we come up with that they give us? Oh, yeah, the healthcare is a problem. It's not your spending problem. It's the healthcare.
Of course. Of course. By the way,
this should be good tonight. And, but look, we know, number one, it doesn't matter what they say. The two stooges Brad and Paul will say yes to anything. If they increase the budget by another $100 million, they'd say yes. So what's the moral of that story? Even my dog is upset with that.
Well, I'll tell you, you brought up the tea. Tomorrow is the meeting at Morton at 5:30 to discuss the tea. They don't want to discuss the problems. We know that.
No.
They want to give you an update on the successes. But they need people there who are going to bring up the problems, like trains running all night long outside of people's windows, like having to take a bus, like the filth and the disgust at the Fall River Depot. Who's going to bring up that stuff?
Oh, they'll fill that room with
it.
propagandists. They'll fill the room with propagandists, and they'll shut down people who want to talk about the reality. And listen, I got a call today from someone who said they saw the T train go by when they were down there, and they didn't see one head in a car. They,
No, there isn't. Nobody's
empty. So, I mean, look, the T's a boondoggle. It's going to be closed within years. It's another bullet train like in California. 10 years, $16 billion, and they haven't got a mile of track laid yet. Well, they laid a bunch of track, but it's crazy. Hashtag, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did. You did. We said it on the show, but Colin and you both gave a great presentation on the T. And everybody, listen, the only people that didn't know it were the clowns in Fall River to listen to the propaganda. Because part of that presentation was article after article from the Boston Globe and the Boston papers and papers all over the state about what a mess the T was. News media broadcasts, videos of news stories about what a mess the T is. But when it comes to Fall River, they're gonna sprinkle the magic fairy dust on it. And it's gonna be great in Fall River. It sucks everywhere else, but it's gonna be great in Fall River.
You think we've been screwed? You want to know how bad New Bedford got screwed? They get a train from New Bedford to Taunton. And then they got to jump off the train and switch trains. Their train only goes to Taunton. Then they got to switch trains.
Yeah.
That's New
Bedford. When they get to Boston, they got to switch trains too.
What?
And when they get to Boston, they'll have to switch trains.
Yeah, well, when they get to Boston, that's a totally different situation. But but no, I mean, this is how bad it is. Boston. This is how bad it is. I have something that we need to talk about.
Uh-oh.
And I mean, we need to talk about it. I received this information from an elected official, which I'm not too particularly fond about, not the elected official, about the reports. And, okay. Do you know who Emily Apke dossier is? Emily Apke dossier. Do you know who that is?
No.
That's the interim chief financial officer.
Oh, I know who she is, but I don't know her name.
Yeah. Well, here's the kicker. Okay, which is always wonderful. I received documentation from an elected official showing that this woman doesn't know her job. Dear City Council President Abreu and honorable members of the City Council, this is from the City of New Bedford. I want to request the City Council appointment of Emily Apke as the City Auditor for the City of New Bedford. Ms. Apke is very highly regarded by the financial management team at the City of Brockton and the Brockton Redevelopment Authority. where she is employed as the chief operating officer. In her current capacity with the Redevelopment Authority, Ms. Opke has been responsible for the budgeting and compliance associated with a range of federal, state, and local grants, and has worked in close collaboration with the auditor's office and under municipal finance managers. Among the other professional credentials she holds is a master's degree in public administration from Northeastern University. In her role as auditor, the expectation is that she will receive close support from former New Bedford City Auditor Robert Ekstrom for a transitional period. She will assume her position as a step one of the Unit C schedule. In sum, Ms. Opke is an excellent choice, having demonstrated the professionalism and the technical expertise required to successfully lead the office of the city auditor. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, John Mitchell, Mayor. Now, this came from John Mitchell's office. I have a copy here of her curriculum vitae, resume, whatever you want to call it. So she lists here Chief Operating Officer, Brockton Redevelopment Authority. Development Coordinator, JDRF, Wellesley, Mass. President and Director of Prova, Brockton, Mass. This is the one we're going to focus on. Okay? So, we've got that. Now let's bring up that. I've got all of these things here. Prova, under her direction, they lost their 501c3 status for failing to file a 990N, which is a postcard. The last filing was in 2020 for the period of 1/1/2020 through 12/31/2020. Principal officer's name and address, Emily Ann Opke, and here it says Hall. I don't know how many last names she has. With an address in Raynham, Massachusetts. So she failed to file several times, and it was placed on the auto revocation list. On the public charities filings, no filing. So she failed to file with the Attorney General's office. So it's very interesting. And again, with the Secretary of State's office, she lists as Emily Ann Opke Hall with an address in Raynham, Massachusetts. So there's a question of her reliability, shall we say?
Oh, yeah. You know, in Fall River, actually, that's exactly why they would hire her. Because
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Didn't Terry Sullivan fail to file for the money we got, and we're still paying a CSO because of him, because he was on vacation? So
Right.
What did he get? A promotion, gets
Right.
rehired as a consultant, and he makes more money. So this is
Right.
what they do. And listen, let me tell you something. Being in charge of Brockton is not a great thing to say, because Brockton's not in great shape.
No, it's not.
I mean, you're talking about her bringing Brockton back. Brockton's still right up there with Fall River and New Bedford and the rest of the quote-unquote gateway cities. So, listen, these things, they're politicians. If you fail to file, you'd be out on your ear, you'd be on it. But what happened with her is she's friendly with John Mitchell. John Mitchell wrote her that letter of bouquets to probably get rid of her. But the fact is that They're going to call up Boston. They're going to have their political allies, their state reps and their state senators call over and say, oh, she made a mistake and we're just going to forget about it and we'll just move on. Like Newsom does for 10 years, taking money from Californians and from the federal government to build a train that still hasn't had a mile of track laid, and $16 billion. This is what these people do. This is why they've got to be thrown out of office. We can't hire anybody here that's that sharp because they wouldn't want to work here. If anybody came to Fall River and saw the mess we're in and then had the politicians tell them, we're not going to give you and allow you to do what you got to do to fix this mess, they're going to quit. They're going to quit because they're going to go, I can't do this. You had Mary Sahadi get jobs all over Bristol County. Once she got in with the city of Fall River, she was working at Seekonk. She was working in Swansea. She was working everywhere. And she went in front of the council and lied about the healthcare numbers. Did anybody run that video when she was up for the job? No. One politician called another politician and she got a job. And they said what a great auditor she was, and treasurer she was, or CFO she was. And listen, I'm not going to kid you. She knows the numbers. She's not stupid. I'm not calling her stupid. But she's a political hack and a liar. She knew the numbers when she lied, because when she got pressed on the numbers, she folded up like a cheap suit. Is this the kind of people you want in charge with your tax dollars? No. And who allows these people to continue? The same people that raise your taxes every year because they approve budgets like this with no fiduciary oversight. They just accept everything. So it's, again, to me, CJ, it's on, unfortunately, we can never get term limits. And to speak to Alpha, Andrew, term limits, unfortunately, you'll never see those because politicians will never cut off their own.
Right. And according to the courts, it's required that the House and Senate put together a constitutional convention.
Yeah.
And you know what the judge's answer to the people were? This is the judge's answer to the people who want the term limits. Elect somebody that will do it.
Yeah, but the key is, Nelson, that she's supposed to have the correct information.
That's right.
It's her freaking job.
That's right.
They're giving her the information to send down because nobody can figure it out. And if they do figure it out, they're going to ignore it. They're going to give you...
And the answer of, I don't have that information with me right now, but I'll send it to you, is not an answer.
No.
Give me that. Let me be on the city council and give me that answer. You know what I'm going to say to you? I make a motion for a recess until this incompetent can get the information we require. And I would word it just that way.
Well,
and then Joe Camaro would say, I will not accept that behavior. You know what I would say, Joe? Right there. Read between the lines. Read between the lines.
Listen, it's her job. Bob Connors
right.
was obligated to come down with numbers and be at every council meeting. And the thing is, you're right. What should happen is you should never take an answer. I'll send them to you. It means that on camera, she does not want to give you the real information. Just like my buddy. Here he is.
Yep, Kenny Pacheco.
2012, suspended for misspending money, for doing all kinds of crap. They don't want to do it in front of a camera because Mary Sahadi got caught that day because I provided them the numbers and they pressed her and she had to cave and they called Gallagher in, and Gallagher, who provides the numbers to the city, told them that she was wrong. She doesn't, when she says, I'll get back to you, that's like the checks in the mail. That's another bullshit. They don't want you to see on TV. They do not want the taxpayers and their viewers to see that they're full of crap.
That's right.
That's simple. That's simple. You know, and if anybody wants, any counselor wants those old numbers to show we were paying more for health care 10 years ago, I got them. But I'm not going to send them to you again because I sent them to you 100 times. I sent you copies of the letter I sent to Coogan that broke down the health care, the retirement system, and the collective bargaining, and why the way we're doing it is killing us. You ignored it. They never had another meeting. 6 years later, nobody talks about it. Every single counselor got a copy of that letter. Every single counselor got a copy of that very, very long, but had evidence of everything I said. It had the numbers from 02 to 12 that were paid into the retirement system versus New Bedford. I had the numbers from the health care that I had, not my numbers from actuarials and from Gallagher, who were paid to do the numbers, and collective bargaining examples that I had records of. So we were dealing with facts, and the last thing they ever want to hear is facts. It's like now, numbers are no longer numbers. You see, numbers are finite. They're supposed to be, but only in Fall River do we discuss numbers that are just for discussion purposes only. No, they're not for discussion purposes only. They're for the damn budget and for the taxpayer to know why he has to pay all these high taxes and get nothing for it. They're not just for discussion. They're numbers. And it's supposed to be accurate numbers. That's what the law says. And the council, by law, by their oath, are the fiduciaries of our money. It is their obligation, and I have case law about that they are obligated to look deeper into those numbers, and they never do. Like I said, they're just lucky. I got no luck with Powerball and Mega Millions. If I ever hit one of those, man, I'm going to sue their ass off. I'm going to hire a law firm just to take them to court for malfeasance, lying. I will get them investigated up the wazoo because I got all the case law already. But I'm not going to, I don't have enough money to do that. This is the reason they say, you can't fight City Hall. It's not because you're not right. It's because you can't use your money. You'll bankrupt yourself. They're going to use your money to pay lawyers to fight you forever. And then you're going to have to spend your money to fight your money, your tax money. And they just weigh you down. And this is the problem. This is the problem throughout the country. And who are the stewards of term limits, CJ? The voters. You're muted, CJ. Can't hear you.
I said, that's right. That's the way it has to be in Massachusetts.
We are constitutionally the stewards of the term limits. We're supposed to throw out the people. It says it. It says it in our Declaration of Independence. It says when a government fails, and I'm paraphrasing now, to the best interests of the people it represents, it must be replaced. So it's us. They put the burden on us. Don't try to pass the buck. Don't look for a shot. See, my dog's even so aggravated what we're talking about. She's showing us her butt. See? But she says they're a bunch of, that's what they are. Okay, she showed us. Thanks, Abby. We appreciate that. But
we appreciate the commentary.
You're it for your input today. So, well,
at
yeah,
least we have any output.
Let's see what happens. And I want to hear the probing, in-depth questions. I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. I got popcorn already made. I can't wait for the probing questions from Paul Hart and Brad Kilby. What the two of them need are pom-poms. because all they are is cheerleaders.
Rah, rah, sis, boom, bah.
Yeah,
Give me
that's
that
it.
bullshit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, but it's going to be, and remember, they're conning in assist budget because he's running for re-election. He is padding it as much as he can.
See, but here's the thing, and I was thinking about this today. We know that Brad Kilby is bucking for a position outside of City Hall.
Oh, he's got it. It's locked up. He admitted.
Okay. It's locked up if Paul gets reelected. If Paul doesn't get reelected, he's screwed.
True.
Because the next mayor may not give it to him. The next mayor may not like him. And guess what? Your plan is out the window. Don't bet on things in life.
Well, you know, the old adage, don't count your chickens before they hatch. So, but no, you're right. The entire finances do need to be, well, they're not a major reset. They need to be obliterated, and we need a forensic audit. And what we need to do is create an entire new budgetary system like Newton, where every single thing in there, but you go to the Newton budget, go online, read their budget. It's fascinating. They make every department head tell you exactly what they're going to do for that entire fiscal year. They have a cost estimate of everything that they have to do. They do that every year, and the budget starts off by them explaining why they didn't get something done in the previous fiscal year that they had on their to-do list. And there has to be a reasonable explanation. And the other thing, the greatest thing is that in Newton, if you come up with something that you want that isn't unforeseen or a major emergency, you're not getting the money. It's not like Fall River where they appropriate a budget for the water department or DCM, and then 2 weeks later at the next meeting, they're asking for more money.
Right.
So that doesn't happen in Newton. You know what happens in Newton? They go, well, it wasn't in your prospectus. Where was it? We asked you for a summary of what you were going to do in the next fiscal year. Priority items prioritized. It's not in there. Oh, it just came up. Really? Is this a critical emergency? Well, not really. Well, go home and we'll see you at next year's budget.
That's right. Which is the way it should be. That's how it should be. But no, in Fall River, the mayor comes down. We're going to appropriate this. We're going to transfer that. We're going to transfer this. We're going to transfer that. A former mayor and mayoral candidate said, I sat down to try to understand the Fall River budget. You can't understand it. It's a moving item. It's never the way it's planned. Remember that? You were there for that meeting.
Oh, yeah. It's a living, breathing organism to them. Yeah, that's it. Well, that's not the way budgets are supposed to be.
That's right, they're not.
Because the Newton budget isn't a living, breathing organism that you can't understand. The layman can understand the Newton budget. Go on a Newton City website and look at their budget. The average person can follow that budget clearly. You can read, you can dive into it in depth. People who handle their money well have budgets that you can understand, because I started that letter out fundamentally to Coogan and the financial team with that city budgets. This public budget in Fall River is not a normal budget that you're used to as a banker or a real estate or a person or a lawyer. I said, these things are smoke and mirrors. And it's all about burying money. And it was said, and you remember this, CJ, I know you do. You remember when a former city chief of staff went out and had, this is how bizarre it is in Fall River. They talk about it like this. So there's nothing wrong with this, they think, that to be having numbers strictly for discussion. But he's talked about magic money.
Magic money.
Remember the magic money?
Yeah.
Oh, well, how are you going to fund that? Well, we got magic money. Well, you're not supposed to have magic money. I'm sorry. If if you got magic money, it's illegal money because the budget is supposed to be a reflection of the money that we have, and we can't deficit spend. There's no such thing as magic money. Magic money doesn't fall out of the sky. What are you going to say? Oh, I got a lottery ticket that I hit and I'm donating it to the city? That's magic money? The definition of magic money is money that they hid.
That's
the
right.
salaries of people they didn't put on the job, the money that they skimmed from the healthcare system to pay other bills, and freed up money in that budget. You know, I know the games they play. I've watched the games, and I dove very deeply into those games when I had to go to arbitration because I had to prove the city's ability to pay. And we did. But
Very interesting.
we can't have these political hacks who work all over the state. Remember Malone? Didn't Malone end up in Brockton? Brockton's like the launching pad. When you can't make it in Brockton, they send you to Fall River.
Fall River.
Right? He started out in a rich community, Malone. He started out in a nice rich community, Swampscott. He didn't last there long. They bounced him out of there like he had a vapor trail coming out of his butt. And then he went to Brockton. And then they canned him from Brockton. Then they said, if you can't make it in Brockton, there's not very many places you can get a job. If you get canned from Brockton, you're in deep shit. Wait a minute.
If you
Fall
can't
River.
make it there,
That's right.
I'll say you make it here. You can make it in shit hole Fall River.
That's right. Send them to Fall River. They don't know the difference.
That's right.
They'll hire anybody.
They will
They can
indeed.
talk
They will
those
indeed.
people into. They can talk that council into anything.
Yes, they can.
I remember the guy that we exposed and they didn't hire. You did it. Remember the show?
Yes, I remember that.
The guy that was an ice house guard that
The
was
ice
coming
house
in for
guard.
some big job.
That's right.
And remember that one? That was really funny. That was one of the few that they didn't slide through.
That's right. Because we were watching.
Yeah.
Like we watch all the time. But they don't think we do. So, just for you parents that were worried, yes, a bullet was found at the Resiliency Preparatory School. I found out that school has an advanced weapons detection system. I guess we don't have to worry about getting shot there, do we? So,
what does that mean, CJ? Does that mean that it's like the cyber security system we had on our computers that we just paid $134,000?
$200,000 for ransom.
Well, they said
and affiliated costs.
But remember, didn't they say we had didn't we have a cybersecurity system?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Created by Mickey and Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, I guess so.
Actually, I feel like telling the city.
From what I understand, the school committee was sworn to secrecy during an executive session, and they couldn't talk about this, and they allowed Superintendent Curley to negotiate on her own without the authority of the school committee. And she entered into agreements to pay $134,000 in ransom and then the affiliated costs. This is what you get in the Fall River school system. A system that is illegal.
Every counselor should be removed from office that voted for that, to allow that.
That's right. If they're allowed to be paid.
And they lie.
And I asked that
we have a security. And you know, the last class I took up at the Cape at the Macris Council, the retirement conference, was by a cybersecurity company. The last CEU course I took was on cybersecurity, and it was an extremely interesting class. This company does municipalities and major corporations and stuff. They don't do like individual security. This is a big, high-powered. But I'll tell you, the stuff that he was showing was like incredible. And the layers that they have in their security, you can't get hacked. You know, they monitor these things like hourly and daily. They check the dark web for everything and things like that. It was really a very, very informative class.
Florida has the perfect security. They take their thumb and shove it up their ass, And it
Yeah.
worked.
Well, you know
And
what
it
Paul
worked.
does? He hires one of his pals who knows somebody who's running cybersecurity. The guy's an IT guy working out of his basement, and we
Right.
hire him, and then we get raided. And then what do they do for the taxpayers? Why do we have to pay that $134,000 and associated expenses? You guys screwed up. Why don't you pay it? Why doesn't the security company that you hired pay it?
And remember, $88 million out the window. Nothing to show for it. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, hold your politicians accountable. The city council meeting's in 5 minutes, and the key meeting is tomorrow at 5:30 at Morton. Have a great night. We'll see you on Friday.
Yahoo!